And wizard.
Hi, everybody.
What?
If you just let me go off, I will do improv of just random fantasy settings.
Mr. Tibbers.
Mr. Tibbers.
I know my camera isn't up, but just imagine a small frog in the bottom right of your screen.
It was never bestowed upon him, but Mr. Tibbles knew he had a divine right to ownership of the stars. Mr. Tibbles.
Fucking Mr. Tibbers.
Thank you.
Oh fuck! Hello everyone. Look,
They're very professional.
you
as
don't
you can
get to
tell.
see my fucking face. You only get to see women on your screen.
I'm wearing pajamas, so hi.
Jam.
I'm wearing a BDSM hoodie. Yay!
Wow.
Love it. Love it.
I'm here for it. I'm so here for it.
Happy Pride Month, everyone.
Happy Pride!
Yes, happy Pride.
Yay.
So glad you guys
Happy
are
Pride.
here. Seriously, thank you. It
Hi.
means
Sorry.
so much.
Where am I again?
You're in the top right.
Oh,
Somewhere on the
thank
internet.
God.
Yeah.
Where I belong.
All right. So, to start with, let's kind of just do introductions, right? Maybe go around the horn. I want to start with Brick. Start with your name, pronouns, anything you want to share about your identity, that kind of stuff. Really, whatever works for you.
Cool. Yeah, I'm Brick or Ray. I am non-binary. I go by she, they. Yeah. Me. That's kind of me in a very easy, quick nutshell.
Awesome. And then next is that Shmoo or is that going to be Seder? Seder,
Let's
right?
say that I'm not sharing anything.
Shmoo's okay. So you're the blank space in the
Shmoo.
bottom. Cool.
Does not like
There's a
share
frog in the
anything.
distance.
So Seder, you wanna introduce yourself to everybody?
What? Yeah. Hi. I'm the troublemaker. That's my name. That's my title, actually. I go by the troublemaker. I make little traps out of rats. And
What
but
your pronouns, baby?
Yeah, pronouns and whatever you want to share.
Well, I'm the Joker. My name.
My pronouns are Joker.
I'm Joker Kim, and I'm sorry. Everyone has to understand. I literally just woke up. I haven't- I don't
Take
know
your
what I'm
time. Me
doing.
too.
My name's Seder. I'm a girl. Maybe I don't know. You tell me what this life is. I'm an enigma.
I'm gonna repeat from the distance with a megaphone. What your pronouns, baby?
My pronouns are she, they,
Sweet.
and
pretty
don't
cool.
call me he, or I'm gonna slice you.
Fair enough.
Like a
You're gonna
magic
show us.
trick.
You're gonna show us a magic trick.
I'm gonna show you a magic trick.
Oh God. Yeah.
Now,
Awesome.
in 5 hours, 12 people will die if you do not give me your number 2 pencil.
Awesome, guys. Well, I am Tank. I am a transgender man. I actually recently had become started identifying pretty heavily with the word transsexual. I like that because for me, my transness is a very body-based phenomenon. I don't feel super strong gender identity connotations with that stuff. But yeah, I use he, him. They's fine. Prefer he, him. And yeah, that's me.
Tank's pronouns are gay cowboy. If you have ever seen him in anything that he wears, you will know that I'm correct.
Yeah, gay gothic cowboys.
Gay
pretty much.
gothic
I
cowboy.
100% did a little bit of research before agreeing to do this, and I looked up some characters that Tank plays, and yeah, 100% I can agree.
Yeah, pretty
Big
much.
gay cowboy energy right there. Beautiful.
Awesome. So
Put the
yeah.
chaps in Alice assless chaps.
Tank is probably the only person that would ever wear chaps on the server, like good enough.
Tank is probably the only one who would look good in chaps on the
Yeah,
server. We'll say that.
probably.
You guys are ignoring the legend, Doug Daradan, deputy detective.
That is true. That is
Oh,
true.
Fucking Doug
I've not
Darrell
met.
Dan,
I've not
diggity
met that
dome.
individual.
Yeah, I mean him. He's
And
great.
you never will.
All right, though. But let's keep going. Next is Nicotine.
Hello, everyone. I'm Nicotine. I'm so sorry. I'm Nicotine. My name is a slur on
fuck,
Twitch right
yeah,
now.
you can't
because
say
of,
that.
You're not allowed to say my name on Twitch.
Fucking
I'm a-
automod bans you.
Yeah, that's right. Automod has been a little aggressive with my name lately because of what I'm sure is just a bug, right, Twitch?
Right?
And the real irony is that I'm a Twitch ambassador. and I'm a role player. I've been a role player for about 3 years, maybe about 3 or 4 years, and I found my way over to WildRP recently. What a cool server! We'll talk about it soon, but I'm in love with it. It's wonderful.
Hell yeah.
Everyone has
My pronouns are
introduction.
she, her. I founded Transmission Gaming. If you guys have ever heard of Transmission Gaming, it's a Discord server and a community for trans people to play video games together and get together and stuff. There's been a lot of discussion about like voice over IP, and people outing themselves on voice and like not wanting to use public voice. So one of the great ideas that I had like a few years ago was, why don't we just get a whole server full of trans people, and then nobody really has to, because we're all trans. It's like not as big of a deal. So that's what it was founded for, but it's quickly grown into a lot of other things. So if you're trans and you want to play games, that's my plug. Transmission Gaming. It's great.
Yeah, I'm not active in Transmission Gaming, but I'm a fan. I'm part of the Discord server, and I love reading like some like the discussion stuff. It's great. It's great. It's
Yeah,
really
there's
cool
movie
vibe.
nights and anime nights, and there's D&D campaign going on, a couple of them, and it's huge. It's a massive community, but it feels like very personable and fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, Fen.
Hello. Hello. I'm Fen, Fenix over, Isla. Don't really care, just that bitch, whatever. She, her. Exclusively she, her. Anything else, we'll yeet that over there. I do roleplay stuff. I've done roleplay stuff for the past 2 to 3 years. I've only been doing virtual roleplay for the past year, I think. Pretty much exclusively on Wild for virtual. And I now started recently doing TTRPGs on stream as well, which is great. I'm co-founder of Infinite RP, which is a little baby TTRPG stream network. Which is at the moment it's going swimmingly. We're really enjoying that. That's pretty much it. I also stream other stuff on my channel, like again roleplay and Overwatch sometimes. That's about it. Yeah.
Awesome. And then we have Shmoo.
Ah, fuck. Hi, I'm Shmoo. I'm non-binary. I go by she, they, he. I'm collecting all the pronouns. I'm fucking Pokemon collector of pronouns. Any. I don't care. And I have only recently started coming out after I've been knowing about my identity for like at least 2 years. I only just started coming out. So yeah.
Awesome.
Hi.
Welcome. Yeah, I was a little surprised Sater was like, you got to reach out to Shmoo. So I'm really happy that you're already ready to do this. This is awesome. Hell yeah. Welcome. All right. Well, then
Following everybody now that I know your name.
My OBS just pinged me for it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. So yeah, I have a series of questions I'm going to go through. It's going to be kind of like round table discussions. So we'll just kind of go around the horn. Everybody kind of share what you want to share. And yeah, that's about it. And then at the end, I'm going to have a little section for any questions people have, like questions from the viewers, that sort of thing. I don't have a guest command. I don't have a lot of commands set up.
I was hoping you would see it. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to distract you.
No. You're good. I've been streaming for a year now, and I feel like I'm still figuring things out.
Can you
like I don't have an audio splitter set
I
up.
can hear you now.
Terrible.
We can hear you.
Good, because I was saying things and then I didn't know if anybody could hear me.
Oh, I
think we
didn't.
could hear you.
We didn't hear you before. We heard you when you said, "Can you hear us?" Can you hear me?
I don't know.
Cool.
I'm so tired.
It's early for me too.
Yeah, it is. It's been early.
I
I figured
basically
like
just said
stuff like that.
fuck. I
Go on.
You can do it.
My
got it.
great friend Shmoo has been trying their very best to be who they are, and I'm trying my best to support them, but I'm so tired.
Thank you.
You got
And
this.
Never mind. I didn't say anything cool during my introduction about like what I do, so I wanted another shot at that.
What is your introduction? Go for it.
My name is Sater Queen. I've been role playing for 13 years, and no one gives a fuck.
I give a fuck. Fuck you.
Thank God.
Yo, we give a
We
fuck.
love you, Sater.
I-
We love you, Sater.
I-
That's why we got you here.
I started playing GTA roleplay, and my first character was a lizard person. So that's how you know I was gay from the start. But I've been role playing for 13 years, on and off, from GTA and D&D and a bunch of other things, Tumblr and Facebook, text role play. And I've always tried to bring forth trans or gay characters. I believe I was like one of the only few gay characters on a GTA server I was on that I refused to speak of. And then I've always just tried to be that open for people who are in the community that don't have like a gay character to look at, or because there's always just the guy with the number one hair, and he's got like the shitty beard, and he's got like a girlfriend with the vibrant
That
red
guy.
hair. She like works at Pillbox, that same shit.
Yeah.
But anytime you see a gay person, that's probably me.
Number
And
one
if-
hair guy and the redhead girlfriend who works at Pillbox.
Default hair guy mixed with girl who works at Pillbox Hospital with red or blue hair with high heels on constantly.
Yep.
We all know them. We've all seen them.
Awesome. Well, let's jump into it then. I think the first one I want to start with is just like a quintessential, I feel like, discussion with trans people who play video games in general. And that is, how, if at all, do you feel video games influence your gender identity? Because I think for a lot of us, right, we either explore gender through video games, whether that's like online with other people, or even just like your avatar, or whatever the case is. So if that feels part of your journey, like how do you think that's fit in? So let's start with Brick.
Good. I like that. There's a rotation.
Yeah, so I've actually used video gaming as like a way to kind of explore as well as affirm my gender identity. I've been kind of going through the process of like coming out as non-binary for the last couple of years now, and it's just kind of been like a thing that most people in like my intimate circle know and I'm comfortable with, but like actually saying it amongst a large group of people or in the mass, it was something that like I had been a little bit scared and just kind of like internalizing a lot. But through video gaming, and especially through RP, like it created this niche for me to feel comfortable with exploring that in whatever way I wanted to, I guess, because video games are so like, you can do anything, especially on like an RP server, not even just video gaming, but like tabletops. Like I come from tabletop. That's where I came from before I started video game RPing. And like, when I started that journey, I was always like, oh, the girl character, the high elf, very pretty, very this, very that. And then through that, when I was experiencing my, not a gender crisis, but just like experiencing my journey, I started creating characters that were more fluid and had, elements to them of things that I was personally experiencing. So it was a way for me to kind of channel a lot of the things that I was going through, a lot of the things that I was feeling into a character, to try and create a way for me to understand that and experience it without feeling scared or uncomfortable. And that's kind of like the biggest thing that video games and video game RP has kind of done for me through my journey of non-binaryism. It's just kind of becoming comfortable with the aspects that I'm still exploring. And through that, kind of understanding my internalized feelings or where I feel comfortable with things. So it definitely has helped more than anything, because now I feel more comfortable doing things that I would not have done like even a year ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Sater, how about you?
Huh? No, I'm listening, I promise. Yeah, I mean, like I have the same sort of idea. I've been trying to use RP as like an outlet because I'm just not motivated enough to do art or music or anything. So I let my mind just kind of roam free on this medium. And I used to just do silly characters, just comedy all the time, because that was just how I wanted it. Because my ass went from wanting to be a dwarf in D&D to being a high elf, and just over time, I like the breaking point for me was for a character called Trish Shields, who was a punk lesbian pyromaniac woman, and she was the cousin of my main GTA character, and she ended up going from very scared and shy to being the most hardcore lesbian you could find around. And then I noticed, hey, I really love my hair growing out long. And I really wanted to grow out long enough that I could look like this character. Oh, I want to be this character. And that
Oh
just...
no, it's me.
Oh
Yeah.
shit.
Oh shit, it's me. But yeah, like I ended up like learning like, oh shit, I like doing this character more than I like doing the character that sounds like this all the time. And it's like, I didn't want to do him anymore. I was like, I want to be a lesbian and flirt with folk. And it just, and then now I have a million pieces of art of her, and I can't stop. And now I have a fucking ancestor version in Red Dead. So it's like, I'm obsessed.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like I try and like to think that I'm a lot more simplified in the whole thing, but I'm just glad that I can like be who I want to be, and especially for like Wild, it's been a lot easier to just, you know, especially in like cowboy times, like playing like a trans woman in cowboy times, and like no one really batting an eye because they don't really know, and they don't go by voice. You know, you get the maybe the occasional like person who needs to be like told, you know, but the people here are usually very nice about it. People are very open. They try to be if they can, you know, because everyone's got their own lifestyle. But
Yeah, absolutely.
I enjoy it immensely to be able to come on here and play both male and female characters, or just characters that don't have one.
Yeah.
I think
Awesome. Well,
I think that's all.
Yeah. I was like, for me personally, I didn't start role playing until, you know, pretty far into like my transition and like coming to terms with myself and all that. So that's been pretty straightforward. But as far as like video games in general go, I think mine was definitely World of Warcraft. I was a big World of Warcraft player as a teenager,
That was rough.
and I always played always
I know.
bang my mic. Always played male characters. There's like I love like male Taurens and like the big buff, like, you know, like that was my thing. And I was with this guild for, it's like 5 years, something like that, and I never told them that I was actually a girl or anything like that. And for years and years I played with this guild, and then finally I, for the first time, get on voice chat with them, and it's like, oh, surprise type thing, and everybody's like, nobody at that point, like I'd even said at points like that I was a girl or whatever, nobody would believe me, right? It was like, yeah, sure, whatever. And then that was a big kind of moment of realization for me, which I was like, well, I don't like this. I liked it better before. Let's go back to that when nobody knew, nobody believed. And that was like a big, like, okay, this is something that I was so much more comfortable before this revelation, you know? So yeah, that was definitely, I feel like, a big part of my realization that I like being referred to in a certain way. I like people viewing me in a certain way. And yeah.
So you could say that, what's that saying go, Shmoo? I want to be seen, but I hate to be perceived. Or something like that. That's yeah.
I want people looking respectfully.
I'm looking respectfully.
That's the sweetest World of Warcraft story I've ever heard.
It's the only one you'll ever hear. Tank, by the way, you look great today.
What's up?
Because your horde, you were loved.
yeah.
I just wanted to say Trenchmouth for the Horde.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know
Otherwise my
shit
favorite.
about World of
Hi,
Warcraft
buddy.
except for like the 5 days that I played Classic, and I like being dead.
My nan plays World of Warcraft, so for the Horde.
Awesome. Well, it's Nicotine's turn.
Hello, I'm Nicotine.
Hello?
Sorry, I'm Nicotine. I think I
Watch your mouth.
I wash my mouth out.
Watch your
Hooligan.
mouth.
I think I have like a very deep appreciation for video games as they relate to my gender identity. As like a child, I really gravitated toward games that were very like, you know, sort of they were gender agnostic, I guess. You know, I really gravitated toward games where I didn't have to play it at like the same gritty dude character. And to this day, like if I have to play like the same, you know what I'm talking about, like the very same basic gritty dude character that literally every game has, as long as I don't have to play as that character, I'll usually get into it, you know? But roleplay is really like the kind of character game that I can really get behind. As a kid, I was really drawn to things like The Sims, where I could, I don't know, just try being a girl for a while and see how that works. And yeah, I think it's super important for trans people to be able to have avatars, to be able to, you know, try stuff out and see if, you know, if this kind of thing feels right. And for me, it did. And I think for a lot of other people, it does too. To just it's like very low risk, you know. It's like you just make a character in a game, and maybe the worst thing that could happen is you feel like weird about it, like you feel kind of weird or guilty somehow. Which I definitely did feel weird and guilty about it, but it ended up being fine.
I still feel weird and guilty about it.
Yeah, I'm always weird and guilty. It's my secret camp. But I think roleplay has a very special place in my heart now as an adult, because I can look back and see that I have this long history of creating characters to reinforce and build up my confidence and my gender identity. And roleplay is one of those ways that I can do that now as an adult. And it's great. I don't know. I feel like it's important for trans people to be able to have this experience of being able to go out and have interactions in a very safe and controlled environment that isn't just real life. I feel like I've gained, since I started doing roleplay as a trans person, I've just gained more confidence in my day-to-day life. And it has nothing to do with actually going outside of my door in the morning. You know what I mean? Like it's just the interactions that I have on the daily have helped me learn how to interact in a way that puberty never taught me.
I feel that on
The first puberty never taught me. So that's my whole shtick. That's me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think it's true. It's why I think video games are so important to so many trans people, because it really is a very unique platform in that sense that allows you to kind of step outside your own experience. And I think a lot of people connect with that, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I want to come around to it later after Finn and Shmoo go, but we should name what is our favorite video game character that revolutionized us. Made us trans. What game made us trans?
You did it.
You. Yeah, there's a big white glove that's pointing at the screen.
I just point at Toad from Super Mario.
I'm sorry.
All right. Well, so Fen, let's hear from you.
It's an interesting one, because this was I had to take a long hard look back as to what caused this explosion in my head. Essentially, if I look really, really, really far back, pretty much ever since I started playing any form of video game that allowed you to select your gender, it was pretty much female. It wasn't a hard decision. It was just female character. Didn't know why. At the time, I convinced myself, when people pointed out, I convinced myself that I thought that female characters were just more interesting. That the kind of general male characters for me, because I was male, I already lived as male, that I was already playing a game that was fantasy, that was escapist. So why not push that further and go to a binary that was not, you know, in line with, you know, what I was presenting as. Even to the point, I didn't even know back then. Honestly, it was complete mystery to me. Even to the point where I was like, I was on a couple of mobile games, and I would female present, and when people treated me as female, and backwardsly, whether it was positive or negative, it still felt validating. Again, that was very confusing. Made no sense to me whatsoever. And
it kind of just spread out from there. So even like when it came to things like Mass Effect, it would be automatic femship. If I push forward to more recent times with things like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, for instance, it's immediately I play Cassandra, not Alexios. Stuff like that. These were all things that happened before I realized and accepted that I was trans female. So there seems to be a weird, long history of it going back and not realizing why I leant that way.
Foreshadowing.
Pretty much foreshadowing, yeah. But we can take this all the way back to super early. I mean, what? How old was I when I played Oblivion?
It was Glover. That was the game that turned you.
Yeah. but yeah, it was just really far back. I don't know if am I tangenting? Am I answering the right question? Am I?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
okay,
you're
cool.
good. You're good.
Yes.
Until we forward fast to WildRP, and I bring in Bobby Johnson, who is a hyper masculine character, and I did that because this was the first time that I played RP where I didn't have a voice actor's voice lines to hide behind, or a female-looking avatar to hide behind. Because to me, I felt like I had to get the whole picture together in order to be, I don't know, convincing or whatever. That's not necessarily the case. And then one day I decided to kind of just experiment, make a female character, and I made Vanya. And I didn't announce on the server who played Vanya, because everyone lists their character names next to their names. And I just had Bobby Johnson next to it. And there was a couple of shout outs, like, I don't know who plays Vanya, but, you know, great interaction, fantastic. Until one day, one of the players dropped it in general that it was me. I was a little bit bummed because I was living on this strange high that people didn't know who I was, and I was fooling people. And they were like, yeah, this is great.
Feeling.
And it felt a little bit catfishy, but it wasn't, because I wasn't trying to harm somebody through doing it. I just didn't want to be known doing it. And then when the information was dropped, it was people were just like, what? Like, excuse me? Like this person who plays this gruff Cockney guy is playing this like this very femme Russian woman, to the point where I had some people message me like, hey, what voice changer are you using? Are you doing this? Are you doing that? I'm like, no, it's just me. And then after that I was like, oh shit. It wasn't long after that I had to sit down with myself and go from some things in my mind, and then I kind of fucking realized it. There's more to that, but that probably come up in another question. But yeah, that's kind of the history of it.
Finn's one of the greatest voice actors on the server. Tell me I'm wrong.
You're wrong.
I won't tell you.
You're not
right.
allowed.
You're biased.
That's not fair.
Am I biased?
No, I'm saying Finn's biased.
Oh,
against
she's
herself.
biased.
We are all our harshest critics, right?
Listen,
That's
I can be
perfectly
narcissistic, but I've got to not say that, because first of all,
Just don't look in a
Sata.
river.
So what? Why?
Because that's how Narcissus died.
Oh yes, just
I love bringing out random Greek lore.
try not to make me look. I like Greek lore as
Don't
well.
look
I
in the
didn't
mirror.
get it. I'm sorry.
I thought it was a poker thing. I was just trying to go
No,
like,
but-
okay, narcissism, poker.
I don't want to keep it too long from Shmoo, but like,
Oh god, I need to
The-
think of an answer.
yeah, go ahead, think while I save you. But Finn, when I met Bobby in Saint Denis when I was having a fucking little moment on Daisy, and I was like, oh, Bobby's voice is so cool. Cool. They're so cool, but they're probably assholes because they're walking around here with Reese and Elizabeth, and I'm like, I hate those people. And I that was my own interpretation of it. But then when like Vanya comes up, I'm like, wait. And then I saw you stream, and I'm like, wait, what? Trans people?
even to the point where back not too long ago, when you pressed the home key, when you played Wild, you would get their stream username. And back then it was I was just Phoenix of, not Phoenix over, and I changed it. I completely changed it just for whenever I played that character. I changed my Steam tag so that even if somebody home keyed, they didn't know like who it was. But yeah,
I remember Mythmatic used to have his screen name just set as none.
Yeah, that's the reason we took that out, because we don't want new name plating, and sometimes it even be like people just do it subconsciously, or like even like the right click where it would show you their name, and it's like it's much easier to take that out.
Yeah,
No option.
You got personally
can't do
hit
it
by that
intentionally.
one.
I watched Myth talk about that on a panel at TwitchCon one year, and yeah, what a good idea. Myth is such a good hardcore role player. You know, he's like so into the role play. It's perfect. I love Mythmatic.
Yeah, Myth is wonderful. I have not gotten to RP with him significantly until a few nights ago, and he pointed at my face, so it was sweet. It was great.
That sounds like Myth.
Yeah, it's a good time.
Awesome.
Without Mythmatic and Grinnig, I don't think I would be on this server. I don't think they saved me.
Yeah, Shmoo, how are you feeling? You ready to go? Just need a minute.
Ah, shit. No, I think I'm good.
Shmoo, my dear friend, who I love so much.
Oh.
Oh.
Okay, so games and identity. Ah, fuck. I've definitely had good and bad experiences, because some of the first online games I played was Gary's Mod. I became an admin for a TTT server when I was quite young, and I'll tell you what, it definitely doesn't help. So,
you mean getting yelled at by 13-year-olds doesn't help you?
It improved my patience. I have gained lots of patience from it.
I'm burn you forever.
But stuff like I'd watch my brother play Mass Effect, of course, as Doc has mentioned. Yes, it affects. See his characters like, oh fuck, these aliens are cool. Why am I the human? Can I be the cool genderless alien, please? I want maybe a Krogan. Depends on the day. It's like, you know what I'm on about. Fen, you're definitely in a sorry.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
I'm down for that. Yeah.
I'm an Elcor.
I just want to be Renegade Femshep if we're going through all this.
Oh,
I want to be Renegade Femshep. Like regular Femshep is just and Renegade Femshep is homicidal, horrible maniac.
Doesn't matter how you play it, you always punch the news reporter. That's just the rule.
Wait.
Sorry, I didn't mean to do it.
Wait, you do?
I call Renegade
Femshep. Fuck. Look, I'm telling you right now, I've spent 6 hours in Mass Effect, and I've just now left the Citadel. In the first part of the game. That's all.
Sounds about right.
If continue, Shmoo.
It's okay. I just want to say something that has definitely helped me figure stuff out is D&D, because while I may not be the same as Mass Effect and other figures, it's like, hey, I can completely make this character. I'm gonna be a himbo bugbear. I wonder why. I wonder why I'm so comfortable with this. My sweet boy Garfield. And it's like the other time, it's like I'm gonna be a hot tiefling lady with issues. I'm still figuring stuff out, so my answer isn't quite as clean. Definitely a lot of things influencing.
No, that's all right.
All of my D&D characters are vampires and rogues, so take your fucking pick, babe.
Awesome. So this one's kind of been addressed a little bit here and there, but the next one I have is, do you roleplay as openly trans or non-binary characters? And do you roleplay as characters that do not align with your gender identity at all? And we'll start with Brick.
Oh, goodness. Yes, I play characters that are both opposite of my gender identity as well as conform to my gender identity. Most people know my main character on Wild as Maeve. She is non-binary. It's not something that ever comes up really in discussion, but it's just something that I've made her character have when I created her, as a way for me to kind of express that. And that's why a lot of the things I do with her, like, I like playing kind of like the amorphic, sort of like gray area of non-binary, where it's masculine and feminine traits, even if it is like a femme body or femme presenting. And that's like, that was a really big way for me to channel kind of like really masculine energy femme character, because like a lot of the things I do on her are very aggressive or like have masculine undertones, which is really exciting. But I also have other characters, like, you know, my very first character before that, her name was JJ. She was around. She was super straight. I also have a character that hasn't come out yet, but she is going to be openly lesbian. So like, I do have characters on the server that kind of go across the spectrum. But in D&D, I've always or tabletop, I've always very much played like non-binary, very androgynous characters, more so now than ever before. But even before that, like trying to use them as a way to kind of figure things out, like the previous question. But no, I have a lot more fun when I play a character that is a little bit more in my vein than not. Just because sometimes I feel like I'm like playing into tropes, and I really don't like playing into tropes, and it makes me feel like I'm kind of doing myself a disservice and everyone else a disservice too, because it's not authentic. But I do like playing characters along all different sort of spectrums. I think it's really interesting to kind of dive into a certain one a little bit more specifically than not. But usually, like I'm very comfortable in having characters be kind of like gender fluid as a basis. That way, I can kind of do whatever I want with them, which is fun.
Yeah, awesome. And Sada, you've already talked a little about this. Anything else you want to add to that?
Did I?
You're talking about like how like some of your characters are trans and that sort of thing. And I know you've played
yeah, basically every
characters.
single character that I play is transsexual, and you can't tell me otherwise. My really sad Victorian haunted doctor is trans. My main character is trans. My criminals is trans. My ripoff of Hosea Matthews from Red Dead Redemption 2 is trans. You can't tell me anything. I will fucking defy you. Basically, Castlevania 64 revolutionized me into realizing that you can do anything, because that game had skeletons on motorcycles.
That's my gender identity right there.
Zeta, are you okay?
No.
I feel like I've learned so much wisdom.
I try. I like to be the weirdest fucking person out there so that people ignore me.
No. People like you draw me in, Zeta. I just listen to you for
Do you
so
not
long.
notice
Like,
what my fucking picture is? It's Nick Cage from his newest movie,
Yeah.
Pig.
I was gonna say he looks like a chubby Nicolas Cage. Yeah,
It's him.
exactly. There we go.
But the question's like, just fuck. Can you remind me what the question is?
It was just like, do you role play trans characters or characters who have like a different gender identity from your own?
Yeah, and I mean sometimes, you know, I'll like say, oh well, Tyus, he's trans, but he's asexual, but I don't know shit about being asexual, but so I just say that he is, and I just try and not say anything mean about it, you know, which is all anyone can ask for. It's just freeing to just be like, all right, everyone is like me, and I you know, some people love to disconnect from themselves and be like a totally different character, but that leads to you finding out you're trans. And some people like me, every fucking character that I play has a bit of me in it, because that's, I mean, like, I fucking spend all day playing role play. Well, I used to, and now I have a job, which is, you know, that's just how life is. So I like the idea of being able to come home and, you know, people calling me man or sir all day at work, and then I come home and people actually like give a shit about it, and then, you know, playing a character that fits that or even doesn't fit that, just it feels good to not be in this physical space, if that makes sense. Like, I know it kind of sounds like, you know, existential Zoomer humor, but like it's like, I do not. I just enjoy my brain being somewhere else in a world. I like sitting in my nasty room looking at a pretty screen. That's my fucking life.
Yeah, I think roleplay especially can really help with that, like not quite escapism, but just an opportunity to live out stories and lives that you wouldn't be able to otherwise, right? Like, and I think that's especially why Red Dead specifically appeals to me, because I love horses, I love Western stuff, I love cowboys. I'm never gonna be a cowboy deputy, right? It's like, so it's fun to be able to get to play out these storylines and have experiences that are affirming too. I think is just, that makes it even better, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can I quickly say Fen? Wait, is Fen still there?
Fen disappeared.
I'm still here. I just had to
just
say on my camera
checking.
a second.
Okay,
It's
okay.
fine.
Cool.
Yeah.
Seda, bring back the other image. You know the one I'm talking
What,
about.
this one?
No, the sus one.
No.
The sus one? Why are we doing this?
Okay. it's Shmoo asked for it. So
I saw it for a moment and I just wanted to be there for a few more seconds.
All right, just for everyone. Happy Pride Month.
Oh, I like that. That's good.
We like
Just need that for a moment. Okay, now we can continue.
Okay.
Awesome. So for me, I actually want to ask this question because I was genuinely curious, because I have not roleplayed as a trans character. And I think it's a combination of things, right? It's like maybe a bit of insecurity. I think part of it too is that, like I talked about at the beginning, right? Identifying as transsexual and trans is a very body-based physical phenomenon for me. Access to hormones and surgery and stuff like that were really important for me as part of my transition process, to like put myself in the headspace of a character who wouldn't have access to that stuff is difficult for me, right? And then I've even thought about, like, I think I would feel more comfortable playing a trans character in modern day settings or like sci-fi settings. I think I might really enjoy, like in GTA or something. I've done like almost no GTA RP. But like for like Wild specifically, right? It's been pretty much just like I play male characters. That's what I'm comfortable with. I did at one point make a female character that I was very, very nervous about, and I didn't stream or anything. I watched myself back on someone's VOD, and I was terrified because in my head I was like, I'm going to sound like I did before I started testosterone. Like it's just gonna be like, it's gonna be terrible. And I listened to that VOD, I was like, no. Okay. Even like trying to do a female voice, like I sound very different. Things have changed, right? So I think for me, like I like the idea of trying that at some point, like playing a trans character. But for me, I think part of what appeals to me in RP and in Red Dead specifically is like, as I can just be these characters, and like the gender thing is just, it's on the side, right? It's not something that like is as forefront as it is in my day-to-day life. But at the same point in time, like I said, I've been curious about those experiences of playing a trans character specifically in roleplay. So yeah, I appreciate all y'all's stories.
Yeah, I want to say, I'm gonna be, oh shit, I'm gonna be really mean about this, but frick you if you gender someone by their voice. I'm gonna fucking beat you with a sack of marshmallows. But also,
Oh God, I hate marshmallows.
good.
I would welcome that. I love marshmallows.
It's like I'm trying to think of like actual encouraging words for once.
It limits stuff, and that sucks.
Yeah, it limits things, and like I can assure you, like even doing your like high pitched girl voice, and you try your best, it takes a lot of training, and I haven't gotten to that point yet. And so when people hear me doing like like a southern drawl and everything like that, and then someone from afar wants to go, excuse me, sir, I want to punch him in the fucking head. I won't do that, and I won't get onto them because I don't like conflict personally, but I will dislike you. And there's the thing with like people using voice changers or anything like that, and I've been trying to encourage people not to use them, because I feel like they limit you, and they also hurt, and the audio fucking sucks. I'm sorry. But I'm not I like getting onto people for just using them, but I'm just telling you here and now that your voice does not matter. If people are going to judge you on the octaves of your voice, you know, just try and do your best. Try and do what you can with what you have, but don't try and fix it because you're ashamed of it. Try and use it and just work on it over time. I haven't done the work yet because I'm lazy, but you know, just try and live your life. You only got so much time to live, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that sounds like, if I, if anything, it was a relief for me, being like, oh, my voice is definitely physically changed, right? This isn't just like, you know, it was anything like a relief to kind of get that. So it's like, if I want to do a female character, I'm going to have to work on that and do some voice training, right? To reach what used to be a much more natural way of me speaking. So this is an interesting experience for sure.
Yeah, and I'm guilty of being like forceful about it. Just be like, hey, stop using the thing, you know, and like Split in Yorkshire talking about. It's like it is a teaching moment for people, and I just want people to understand that, you know, you can just be you, and without a voice changer, and I just feel like it hinders you.
All right, Nicotine, your turn.
Yeah, hi. I have some notes, and what they say mostly just that all of Tank's stories are so precious and so sweet.
I love Tank.
Honestly, they're so sweet. You're such a sweetheart.
Tank's my best friend. Does anyone know that?
I have another note
Yes.
about the voice changer stuff. 100%. I think voice changers. I'm sorry, voice changers are awful. You can always tell when somebody's using a voice changer. Look, I'm never gonna like critique or be mean about somebody's RP, right? But like, that's the RP, not the technical stuff. And the technical side of things says that when you use a voice changer, it sounds like shit. I'm sorry. It sounds like a robot.
Destroys your microphone quality.
It takes your VoIP quality from great to garbage in no time flat. And the other thing is, it doesn't matter what kind of voice changer you use if you're not like actually like acting or performing that voice, then nobody's gonna care, you know. And if you are actively using like speech patterns and stuff that's consistent with that gender that you're trying to portray, then you won't need the voice changer at all anyway. So it's pointless. It's a pointless endeavor. Stop using voice changer. If you're using a voice changer, don't stop today. If you never used it again, you'd be fine.
Sam, what's your voice changer gone?
But the question was about whether or not we play trans characters, and I would like to say a couple of things. First of all, I do have a trans character that I play. But more than that, every single one of my characters is queer in some way. And even like the types of queer that I don't necessarily identify with. And I think that that's okay for queer people to do, because we bring a much more holistic approach to it. It's not like when Hollywood tries to make a queer character that's just like, I'm queer and that's my entire character.
Hey, what's up? I'm gay. You have bad fashion sense. Fuck you.
I'm gay face McQueerdo and I'm here to tell you that I'm gay. Ha ha! And then they die, and then that's the whole character.
And that's it.
Okay, I want that to be my street name.
So when I create a queer character, or I'm sure like any of us create a queer character, we inherently understand that there's much more to a character than just the fact that they're queer. And so I think that brings so much more humanity to a character than how Hollywood or cis people might want to portray a queer character. So I personally, I think it's okay if queer people want to play other types of queer, because we understand that it's more than just that about the character inherently. I have a lot of characters and they're all queer in some way. I have a trans character in GTA, and I have every one of them is like,
trans,
I have a
right?
character who's like asexual, I have a character who's a lesbian, a character who's, trans. I don't know. I think it's important that those characters are represented, but I also think it's important that they're human.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've talked about that at a pretty length, especially when it comes to like you're talking like Hollywood portrayals and stuff like that. Is that so often, when you reduce these characters to either their gender, their sexuality, or whatever it is, like you lose so much, and you lose this potential to have a 3-dimensional character. And I think that's something that's really important in general, especially when portraying character. And this really goes for anything. And it's an interesting topic in role-play in general. Like people talk about portraying characters outside of their culture, outside of their race, or any of that kind of stuff. Like it's that's where things get dicey, is when you start reducing that character to whatever traits that are not part of like your own experiences. That's where it gets really, really messy, and you get these really flat portrayals that make people uncomfortable, because you're losing so much. It doesn't feel like a real person anymore. It feels like a focus on whatever this trait is, right?
That being said, there's nothing wrong with your character being proud to be gay.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
Daisy loves proclaiming that she's gay. Oh, what do you think about that guy over there? I don't know. I'm fucking gay.
Awesome, Fen.
Perfectly fine, as long as you're not being mean to people. That's all I wanted to add.
Yeah, for sure.
I have never played a trans character.
Never.
So just for context, based on that, I've had many characters over many years in many different things. I have only actively realized and admitted and been out as trans since November 1st, 2020. So it's not been long anyway. But I think the closest thing I've had a non-binary character. My first ever D&D character was a non-binary called Klaus. Shmoo might remember them.
I remember Klaus.
Klaus
I love Klaus.
Klaus wasn't around for long, but Klaus was a moody rogue elf. I know my first ever character was a rogue elf. Look at me, I'm so original. And
looks at my 12 other rogue elves that I have in my backlog. Oh shit!
And
oh my god, we figured stuff out for you.
They were non-binary, but I think they were just non-binary because I didn't know what to gender my first character as. And looking back on it, I think it was kind of good that at the time I didn't care that I had to pick one. It was just whatever, you know? These days, my characters are very binary when it comes to gender. When it comes to sexuality, nobody knows their sexualities really, because they just don't announce it. And it doesn't really matter. But I think there was one moment not too long ago where Bobby was surrounded by DiCenzos, and they were basically like, so tell us the secret. And Bobby just sat there and went, wow, here's a secret that you might not know. I like boys as much as I like girls. And he kind of said it like that. And it was like there was a weird silence for a moment. And then Oliver Toscano just went, yeah, me too. Yeah, cool. And it was this tense moment, but then it was just
that.
Because Mayday sat there and went, wait, what? So you like guys? And then he like, that character was like a bit taken aback, but then Oliver was just like, yeah, me too. Yeah. Like, it's no biggie. Yeah. And it was quite nice.
Supportive friend.
It was quite nice. Well, you love a supportive friend, but they were actually technically enemies at the time.
We love a supportive rival.
Hell yeah.
Even though they were enemies, they were just kind of like
frenemies.
Yeah,
we love a frenemy
exactly.
here. We love
Oh
a
yeah, me
frenemy.
too. I actually love Bobby.
Respectful enemies.
But other than that, it's not been when it comes to identity, my characters have never gone out of their way to say I am this or I am that. They've just existed. I think the only reason people know that Vanya is bisexual, or actually technically she's pan, but the only reason people know that is because she just flirts with everyone, pretty much.
I love Vanya.
And she flirts with everyone, but I think she's betrothed at the moment, or smitten, encapsulated.
Who?
But
Huh?
Oh,
what? I've been gone for so fucking long.
Oh, this is a very recent development. Basically, yeah, I've not done it so that any characters like that. Even when it comes to D&D, my characters don't tend to pursue love interests anyway. And until Wild, I didn't really ever pursue love interests. So it wasn't really
relationships.
Wasn't really a matter of what are you or anything like that. It was just kind of, hey, this is my character, this is who I am. It doesn't help that I do stick to very stereotypical kind of portrayals of genders. Bobby is very hyper masculine. Vanya is very hyper feminine. Every other character I've played is kind of very strongly adhered to one end of a scale. There's not really much in between. However,
no middle sliders.
Basically, however, very recently, I just started a campaign this Sunday just gone. And to anyone that's in that campaign, please close your ears because this is going to be a surprise. They're a time wizard. And every time they do something that blinks them out of existence into another time dimension and back again, there is going to be a percentage chance that when they come back, they're a different iteration of themselves from a multiverse. So the character could come back
sexy
as female.
That's
the character
hot.
could come back as non-binary. The character could come back as trans. So that's going to be fun to play because it's the same character and they're all called Alex. At the moment, I've started as the male version, just the strict binary male version. He likes to be referred to as Al. The next version that comes in is probably going to be called Alex, but like to be referred to as Lexi. And without getting too much into things because I'm taking up time, is they do have a spell called Mordekainen's Magnificent Mansion, if anyone's ever heard of that, where there is basically a pocket dimension where all the iterations of this Alex character basically live. So that's going to be interesting. But that's the closest I've come. That's the closest I've come to anything like that. Yeah.
I love
Awesome.
that. So
Sorry
much.
for tangenting there.
No, absolutely. So Shmoo, you got any experience with this?
Schmotos.
I haven't really played many trans characters, considering it's been very recent that I've come out. I've had like this thing of like, I want to make sure I do this right, and I have a lot of very different characters, and I was worried, what if people think I'm just trying everything and I do something wrong? So I've been trying to be very careful about it. And with the whole thing with voice changes plague me because I don't have any voice training. That is something I want to try and do. But just the fear of playing other characters is definitely there when I sound like this all the time.
She sounds amazing, though, doesn't she?
Thank you,
You
Bias.
do sound amazing.
I love him.
I feel...
They're one of
okay.
my favorite people.
I do want to say, like, I feel that with Shmoo as well as somebody who has, like, I have a slightly darker, or not darker, but deeper, like, femme voice. Like, trying to train that to go deeper for male characters. That's something that I've been working on, and that's why I don't have any male characters really on the server now, is because I'm trying to practice that, because it's like one of those things where it's like, no, don't gender somebody based on their voice, but I want to be as accurate to that character as I can, and like that is so important to a lot of characters.
It's
and
terrifying.
It's terrifying. I played one male character on the server. He was a one-shot character. Doc knows who he was, and every time I was so scared to genuinely log on as that character, even though they were a one-shot character. Like, I got anxious beforehand because I wanted to make sure that I was accurately portraying and doing the best that I could, and I didn't slip up as much as I, definitely did. But that it's hard, it is hard when you're kind of trying to go into that vein, and getting any affirmation is great. So thank you to anybody, across the board, not even just to me, to just anybody for, giving those little affirmations. They really, really do help when you are trying to do new stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
As a little example of how far I've gone to not speak as a male character, I had a dock boy called Billy Crick. He was Deputy Cricket's dad. And I purposely... Yeah,
Wait,
Deputy
what?
Cricket's
I didn't realize that
father-
part.
Dad?
know that.
Deputy
When did
Cricket's
that happen?
father was a
Yeah.
dock boy. Yeah, I was
I
going to
did not
bring him
know
in.
that.
She died. That character's gone. But in order to avoid, like, speaking, this character had a fucking harmonica lodged in his throat, and that is how he communicated. That is the point I went to be like, this is a very large, gruff character. I cannot do this voice. I am too terrified
He got a
to no
harmonica
one.
stuck in his throat.
Yeah, like no one would have believed it. I didn't think it would have been convincing enough, and so I just avoided it.
You can't do mute RPs, so they went with harmonica RP.
Yeah, and my goal eventually, once I'm confident with my voice enough, is to have a himbo character, because that is what I aspire to have. So I haven't played
you are
really
a
trans
himbo.
characters. Aside from like one for sure in D&D who is a goblin called Dirt. So take from that what you will. He is my son. Yeah, that's it.
Nice. Well, that kind of segues into my next question, was going to be, we see as a favorite, right? How do you feel about cis people playing, either like opposite gender, right? Cis men playing female characters, women playing male characters, and then even more specifically trans characters, right? And kind of even for someone interested in playing such a role, like what advice or tips or feedback, that kind of thing might you have?
I actually have a lot to say about this.
Yeah.
Can I? Would you guys mind?
Sure.
Would you guys?
By all
Can
means,
I just
yeah,
go
go
off for a
ahead.
second?
Go
off,
off, please.
Let's go.
All right. So
Please.
here's the thing, right? I think a lot of trans people, sort of start spreading our little trans wings by going into roleplay servers and doing just that, right? By portraying characters whose gender isn't something that we currently at that time identify with. So I think that at some level we need to show like a lot of patience for people who we might not expect to play characters that are incongruous with how we perceive them, to how we perceive the role player. However, at the same time, we need to like make sure that those characters are being represented in a respectful way and not just, this is a joke character meant to be a joke trans character because haha, trans people are funny. You know what I mean? So I think there's this very fine line between haha, look, I'm dressing up in women's clothing, it's the 1990s and I think this is funny, versus unless JK, unless
JK.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it's important that we show restraint and patience to a certain point. And I think that point becomes very clear for many queer people who experience this on a daily basis, right?
Yep.
Like we can tell when somebody's doing it just like as a joke versus versus how they actually feel. And I think that is, I think understanding that difference, that line is key. So that's my 2 cents about it. I personally, I don't have any problem with anybody portraying women or people who are different from their gender identity that they identify with, just because I know that that's such a stepping stone,
Yeah.
So I would never have a problem with it, but certainly, be respectful.
It really
Look respectfully.
It really is like I can tell when people on the server are, maybe they're cis, they're not trans or anything, but they want to play a character that's the opposite gender. And it's very easy to tell when those people have good intentions versus, hey, look at me, I'm a woman and I'm really fucking crazy. Haha, I'm a fucking wild person. It's like you can tell when someone is being over the top with it. But then there's also the people who are very just subtle with it, and they'll say some fucking weird shit suddenly. You just got to be on the lookout for it, and you got to just watch people, and if people are being weird, then you smack their hand and you go, no.
Yeah, my big thing is like, if I've got no issue with it. I have absolutely no problem if you would like to explore, if you want to go outside of your normal convention and try something new. Just absolutely, yes, like Nicotine said, be respectful. They're just people. Just be a person who has a story. Don't make it a joke. Don't make it something that you think is funny. If you're creating a character and the premise of your character is something rooted in ignorance, then you're doing it wrong. But on the same vein, on the opposite side of the spectrum, if you do see something like that, say something. Please say something, because not only is it going to affect your role play, it's going to affect other people's role play. And yes, we all are in a role play server, but sometimes when things like that come up in a place that's meant to make us feel safe and comfortable being who we are, it immediately has the opposite effect. And nobody wants to be a part of something that feels like they can't be who they are. So if you ever see somebody on any server, not even just Wild, but any server, just obviously being very ignorant, say something. Let them know. Try to educate them, because you going that extra mile, it's not your job to educate anybody. That's not what I'm saying. But saying something about it and trying to make it known that that is not okay is really important, because that helps perpetuate a space to feel safe and comfortable and to keep encouraging people to explore and go outside of those normal comfort zones.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that-
absolutely.
Fuck, I had something. It's like when you were in school and they had those fucking signs up that said, if you see bullying, contact a teacher or a principal. Because that's how it is. Because usually you'll just be sitting there and someone's like playing a character that's just like, oh, I'm a woman, oh, I'm a man, like, oh, look at me, I'm a fucking thing, and there's no story about
No
like
sustenance.
my wife was killed by a pack of wild wolves. I love being a man. It's just bad.
I mean, sorry, say it, go on.
No, I didn't have anything else.
I was just thinking, like, if the sole core purpose and point of your character is to, first of all, be purely comedy, and then comedy focused around the fact that they are trans, non-binary, queer, whatever, anything along that lines. If that's the sole focal point,
Stop.
just
Stop
relog,
it. Get some
and
help.
relog and delete the fucking character. Because what you're doing
Give them to me.
is you are
Give the
solidifying and highlighting the fact that it's okay to just laugh at that. And that's it's purely made to just laugh at that. Not the fact that it's not that they're a funny person that happens to be trans. It's the fact that they are funny because they are trans, and that is cementing that it's okay to do that. It's cementing that it's okay to laugh because they are trans, even to the point where if there is, especially if you're streaming, if you are streaming and you have somebody that's not out yet and not comfortable with being out, and they're watching your stream and they're realizing that even in a virtual context, it's okay to laugh at the trans person because, haha, they're trans. You are potentially preventing that person from coming out, and you're preventing that person from being themselves and being themselves comfortably. Just don't do it. It's fucking simple.
Your actions have consequences far beyond the immediate.
Yeah. And you can make a comedy character that's not that.
Did you just when will you learn?
Yeah, that's kind of
just-
my.
Just avoid that shit. Just avoid it.
My actions have consequences, but everything is about me. I thought I was the protagonist.
This is my story.
Oh,
I have
no.
to win.
There are no protagonists in RP of this capacity. There are none.
I'm going to be the antagonist.
Yeah, and
Nobody
that's-
wins.
Yeah, exactly. We're all just building the story together.
Yeah.
I kind of did this in like a weird order, so I don't want to like take up things, but I wanted to bring us. I just wanted to bring up Stonefly's message from earlier about how they can support queer people in roleplay the same as they do in IRL and all that.
Yeah.
And it kind of ties in with this question, is why I wanted to bring it up now, because it's like just be like watch out for those people. Watch out for the people who do get on here and they just make shitty jokey characters, like Josiah is like a jokey character who is trans, but that's not his character. He's a parody of the Red Dead Redemption 2 character. He's a jokey character, but you see someone else come on the server and they say some nasty shit, or they just revolve their RP around their gender, or making fun of them. And just watch out for that. Watch out for people who do that. And another good thing that I think everyone can learn to do is it's something that's very integrated in guys or people who just come from rougher parts of the US or other countries where it's just like, don't call shit. Don't look at a guy and go, man, that bow tie is really fucking feminine. You know, like that fucking that hairstyle you got there is really a masculine. You know, that short hairstyle is really fucking weird on you, lady. You know, that shit gets to me personally. I don't know about y'all, but like
Derogatory gendered terms suck.
yeah.
Any food can be breakfast food if you're brave enough.
Exactly.
Shit, I eat ice cream for breakfast. What am I
But
doing?
that's you know, just bringing that up in case anybody wanted to add on to that while we're on the topic of just like how does because they're asking like how can we support queer people, queer characters and such. This, you know, is it any different than how we can support them IRL and, you know, doing it in game, you know, while you know, supporting the character, supporting the story, I think is what they mainly want to know.
Yeah, and that's kind of my gut reaction to, like, we're talking about comedic characters and comedy. I think comedy is an area where it's so easy for lines to get crossed just in general, especially when, again, you're playing a character that's outside your own experiences. So honestly, my kind of gut reaction is, you know, for, you know, cis women or cis men who want to play, you know, a character of the opposite gender is try something super serious first. Like, don't even like go with the comedic stuff. Be like, I'm going to very seriously inhabit this character and play them as realistic as I can, and focus on that part first before you start trying to do the comedic stuff, because I think that's where the stakes happen or lines get crossed. Like I said, you know, like I've seen characters where the character's gay and like it's not intended to be that like the punchline is that they're gay, right? But the way certain things come across, it feels off because it feels like, okay, now it's like haha he funny that like this character is attracted to that character, and then like, and that's where you start getting that weird like, okay, this doesn't feel right type thing, right? So I think that's in general, you know, like I would even say don't go the comedic route until you feel really confident that like I can make a three-dimensional character who is funny, but like Sadie was saying, right, you know, the funny part has nothing to do with their gender identity or their sexuality or any of that stuff, or their gender, right? So until you feel really confident that like that's something that you can portray and you can have that differentiation, it's safer just to, you know, to make sure that you can portray a three-dimensional character first, period, and before you start going the comedy route.
I do, just real quick. I'm sorry I keep talking, but like,
don't apologize. I'll punch you.
We keep using like very vague terms of like centered around, you know, their gender and like things like that. I just don't want to fucking say the shit that I've seen, you know, on this nice little podcast, because people are bad. You know, it's very obvious of what people do. It's not a hinting at thing. People are very blunt about it when they want to be.
Yeah.
But I will say as well, on the flip side, there are some people on the server that are doing it and doing it very well. And thank you. Sincerely, thank you from the bottom of all of our hearts. I'm not going to speak for everybody, but you know, my collective, our heart. I have multiple hearts.
I'm speaking for myself. Thank you.
But no, like it means a lot, especially because we've all run into people who do not respect that, you know, and the ignorance of that really does, you know, hurt. So when somebody comes in, or when multiple people come in and do it very well and respectfully, it sets an example and a precedent for other people to come in who would like to do the same thing. So thank you, because that plays a larger part into something else that you probably don't even realize when you're doing it, but it means a lot. And it's really special to have people that can already do that. And it's not a problem, and it's not complicated for them. You are the types of people that we want to be able to do this with. So thank you to those who are doing it successfully on the server, and just in general across all forms of RP on the internet. It really does mean a lot.
Yeah. And that all kind of ties to the next one, which is going to be, you know, let's talk about experiences in RP communities due to you know, gender identity and that kind of stuff. Like, have you guys had negative experiences or positive ones, right? I think we probably all had a mixed bag of both. So let me just talk a little bit about that. You know, anything has either been, you know, like something really frustrating to deal with, or also positive and very affirming.
He can't hear me.
Tang.
Oh, sorry.
Tank. Just wanted to say as a point to the last question, I'm just going to say, do your research from the point of view of the people you're trying to portray and understand experiences will be different.
Yeah,
Shmoo didn't get to
absolutely.
go.
Yeah, that's it. I just wanted to get that out
Sorry,
there.
Shmoo.
It's okay. I'm sorry for interrupting the question.
No, you're totally good. Sorry, because I keep hearing myself, I have to turn myself down, so I'm not trying to talk over myself. It's very confusing,
It's okay.
as I do not have my audio set up properly. That's okay.
Please put away the Joker. So
Okay.
What was the question though again, Tank, if you don't mind?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's what negative experiences have you had, like do gender identity in role play, and then what positive or affirming experiences have you had? If you want to talk a little bit on that.
That's a good question.
Oof, that is a good question.
Yeah.
I've had some negative experiences in tabletop that I'll talk about because I am very fortunate to say that I have not had too many interactions on Wild specifically because it's the only place I do internet RP at the moment or online role play. So one of my very first times I ever decided to play a male character was when I had moved down south and I played at a local gaming store because I didn't have any friends who played at the time. And this is right when I was kind of like getting into it. I didn't know that there was a whole online community. And it was, I have never played at a local game store ever since. It was that bad. It was really uncomfortable because I was also like starting to get into voice acting and starting to do these funny voices. And I had decided to play a goblin character who had like a really kind of weird little gravelly voice. And everybody kept calling me she. Everybody kept calling me, like her. And I was just like, me, the character playing that, yes, that is fine. But we're in the world right now. Like we're not. I was like, in the world, it's he. In the world, it's he. Address him as he. And it was like pulling teeth. It was very hard. And as somebody who would, that was also kind of like around the time where I started to experiment with my gender identity and trying to find a place where I felt comfortable with things. And that was low-key traumatizing. Like I have never played with a group of strangers ever since. I don't play with strangers because of that. Like it really kind of scared me in that sense. So like moving towards, obviously the opposite side of the spectrum, the only time I have played, a male character on the server, it went over exceedingly well once I got past the anxiety of playing them. And they were received very well and very respectfully. I had a couple people that might have questioned it when he came in, just because of the voice and everything like that. But at the same time, like I have had an overwhelmingly positive experience from the small amount that I have done on Wild, which thank you to everybody who met that character and was part of that story because that was cool. And it made me feel safe and comfortable in the space to do that whenever I felt comfortable to do it again. So it's really nice to say that I haven't had negative experiences on the server or in online based RP, but I know that they're out there. So I definitely, that's just my end of the spectrum. I've experienced it more in IRL terms than video game role playing. But yeah, it still is one of those things that sits with me and I'm like, nope, no thanks. I know where I'm safe. I know where I'm comfortable, and that's good for me.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Sater.
Hi, can you tell me what the question was again?
Oh, you're fine. It's going to be if you want to talk about negative experiences in roleplay due to your gender identity, or positive or affirming ones.
All things considering, I can't remember like a time I've had like a negative experience. I mean, I've had plenty of times where it's been I've seen it happen to other people, but not me directly. Thankfully I haven't had like, someone call me like bad names or anything. But I've had like two scenes that stood out while I was thinking about my answer. There was a GTA scene where it was me and Fist of the Walrus, who was playing what was his? It was like Tony Stromboni. Yeah, Stromboni. And
sounds about right.
And I went
oh, Tony, don't you know I'm gay? He's like, I don't care if you're gay. You can love whoever you want. It's a free country.
And that made me feel good for like, being gay. And then just telling people that Daisy's trans, like after like the first few weeks, was just kind of freeing, and no one really like, batting an eye. Everyone just kind of accepting it, and I like that. And because like, and like saying it in roleplay was even better, because it's like I never say it. I never say it out loud, like, yeah, she's trans, but like she has 2 children with 2 other women in Mexico, and people go, wait a minute, how does that work? And then they have to think about it. And I like doing that. And no one bats an eye at it when I go, yeah, I got 2 kids in Mexico that I had to leave because I was like 18. No one, wasn't mature enough. And it's like, that story just kind of, you make it up in your head, and people going along with it is such a nice, it's such a nice change of pace than just people making fun of it all the time on GTA or anything. But that's all I really have, because thankfully, like I'm very blessed to not have like people yelling at me and all that shit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, for me, I think I've had a few like moments here and there. For the most part, the server is one, and I'm going to go on my whole I love WildRP tangent, I'm sure. But there's been like a few kind of like iffy jokes or things like that. Again, not necessarily directed even like at me or any other players. But everyone I ever had a situation like that with I've reached out to out of character has been super receptive. Some were even like, I knew as soon as I was saying that I screwed up, and like I was trying to backtrack. I crossed that line and I felt terrible, right? So it's like I do feel like we are really blessed to have a community that takes that stuff very seriously and doesn't want to make people uncomfortable. It doesn't want to make people upset. On the flip side, I've definitely had some affirming stuff. I just enjoy being treated as this like masculine character, whatever, right? And so that's been really fun too. But for me, even more so than the in-character stuff is the out-of-character stuff for me. Just again, like our community's amazing. Our staff team especially is amazing, right? As someone who the phrase is passes, right? So I'm very readily read as male, like in my day-to-day life, all that kind of stuff. My voice, it's kind of where most of the time I get to choose who I share my the fact that I'm trans with, and what context and that sort of thing. And with the staff team specifically, everyone has been so warm and welcoming and wonderful. And like I can mention things casually and I can make jokes, and nobody like ever makes me feel even slightly weird or uncomfortable about that stuff. And it is truly a blessing to be with such a wonderful community and such a wonderful staff team and all that stuff. And it's just like I think it's one of the things that makes Wild so special and so unique is that everybody takes this stuff very seriously, and we want a positive, affirming, uplifting community, right? We're not going to let that kind of stuff slide, because I think everyone has had that experience, even if you haven't experienced it directly in roleplay, where you watch somebody stream or something like that, and you're just like, what the hell am I watching right now? What is happening here, right? And so it's one of the things I think that makes this place great.
I'd love to see it.
I'm trying to sit up. I'm terrible at posture. Terrible.
You can still hear.
I think.
Sorry.
There we go.
It's your turn.
Welcome back.
It's my turn. Yes. Well, hello. My name is Nicotine. I have no idea what the question is.
Yeah, we were talking about either negative experiences in roleplay due to gender identity type stuff, or positive and affirming experiences.
So, do you mean like in the context of the scene, or in the context of some asshole?
Either way, just like people you've experienced who were
there's been
crappy,
like
or
plenty of times. Been plenty of times when people have like been like weirdly homophobic or transphobic to me in scenes. But I always stream my roleplay. I usually never go in offline, so I have like a very, very dedicated community.
Got them receipts.
Who's very interested in making sure that there's evidence in the form of Twitch clips to provide for, any interested parties such as admins or moderation staff. So I really owe a lot to my community for that. And it happens occasionally. And that's another thing too. Like you can't be afraid of that. If you're trying to get into roleplay, I assume this is why we're talking about this, right? It's like if you're trying to get into roleplay as a viewer, you should know that if you're going to go into a roleplay scenario, there might be a risk of running into somebody who's kind of a dick. It's probably going to happen, especially if you're a Twitch streamer. God help you if you go to stream on Twitch as a queer person. You are 100%. And Automod is not going to help you. They're going to think your name is a slur. But seriously,
say the slur.
But seriously, you're gonna wake up and you're gonna go to work on Twitch and you're gonna see some of the people are gonna try to write to you like the worst things they could possibly think of to like cut you deep down in your. And the first time you read that stuff, you're gonna be like, oh my goodness. And then the second time you're gonna be like, oh, I've seen that before. And then the 500,000th time you've seen it, you're like, okay, well. And the same is almost, I mean, it's not, the same isn't necessarily true for roleplay if you're in a good server. Like WildRP, for instance, is a fantastic server. I haven't had any problems here yet. But I've been on other servers where it has been a problem. And luckily I've been in a position where the admins are generally pretty understanding and accepting of that and handle it swiftly. So I would suggest to you, if you're queer in some way and you're trying to get into a roleplay server, find a server that has like a very outspoken and positive set of rules for that, so that you know that the admins are going to be on your side when you file a report.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it can be hard. I'm just telling you, everything's going to be hard about it, but you're going to get there and you're going to enjoy it. You're going to have a great time. You may feel down sometimes, but
don't take any shit from anyone.
Don't take any fucking shit from anyone. Not in character,
not out of character. Don't take no shit.
If someone fucking gives you shit, you point a gun at them. That's how GTA works.
Yeah. And definitely, like I was saying earlier too, I think part of it is also feeling your own comfort levels and the situation, right? If it's a blatant, like this person is being an asshole and they are doing this deliberately, right? And we all know like when someone's crossing that line for a purpose, right? Like, sure, just right to putting a report. Or other times, like I said, where it feels like maybe they just didn't know what they were saying or the way it came across, and you feel comfortable reaching out to them one-on-one. Like I said, it all depends. Sometimes people get defensive and weird and be jerks about it, but a lot of times people are very receptive and they're like, oh, I did not mean it that way, or whatever the situation is, right? So it's kind of finding the best way to make sure that either way it's addressed, so that way it doesn't keep happening, right? Intentional or unintentional.
Before I pass the talking stick over, I have one more thing I wanted to say, and it's that I have a trans character that I play in GTA. Her name is Casey. She's a private investigator. She's Casey Von Solver.
Shit, I didn't know that.
And she's trans, and she didn't tell anybody about it. And another character who she was like kind of sort of seeing had like they had like a little coffee date. And Casey had never done anything like that before, and this character had probably never done anything like that before either. And Casey found out that they're also trans man, and it was like the sweetest thing that had ever happened, like organically in a roleplay scene. They just came out as a trans man to Casey, and Casey was like, "Oh, well, wow, I've got something to tell you."
I love that.
It was
I
so
love
sweet.
that.
It was the sweetest thing.
You want to talk about pure
planned
stories? God damn it, that's a pure story.
Couldn't have planned it. It was so wholesome.
Was that Maximilian Angel? And Evan?
Yeah, it was Maximilian Angel.
Yeah, of course, I love an Evan, and Evan's not here.
Oh, Evan is hands down. He's one of my favorite role players. You should definitely be checking out Evan.
He's not here, but he's an old friend. I haven't talked to him a lot recently, but he's amazing. You should go watch it because he does a lot of good stuff.
We're on a stream team together. The Hooligans, it's Evan and Lock the Raven and myself.
I'll be on a stream team.
They're both great role players.
All right,
anyway,
real quick.
That's it. I'm done.
Yeah, no, you guys. I want to say thank you guys for all the subs. You're super generous. I'm just glad you're enjoying this. So thank you.
What the fuck?
But Fen, you got anything?
Yeah, I have a natural gift to avoid negative experiences somehow, which makes me feel guilty because. But no, it's only because I always experience things through other people's eyes. Strangely, I've witnessed other people do it, and I've been there when other people have gone, "This has happened," and I've gone, I have no words because it's, to me, I feel like it just shouldn't happen. And it's not just when it comes to gender as well. It's things like, race and stuff like that. Just when something negative surrounds that and it happens, I just think, why the fuck is it still happening? That's the bit that I can't comprehend. But I had a friend that was in server, trans female, struggles with their voice a little bit, and they made a female character, and the female character's voice wasn't traditionally hyper femme. And the characters immediately shut it down. Like the other characters that were engaging with them were basically along the lines saying, what is this? This is ridiculous. Shut up. Like, who the fuck are you, sort of thing. Hearing that broke my heart, because if you can see somebody playing a female character and they don't sound traditionally hyper femme, it's still role playing. You know what they're trying to do. Like, they are clearly trying to express themselves. Okay. Don't make them regret trying to express themselves. That blows my mind that people would put a not just a, I'm not going to say a downer on it because that sounds too casual, but try and squash that with no benefit to themselves. They're just squashing it for the sake of squashing it. I think those people have been dealt with though, which is good. These things need to be addressed. For myself, I've had a lot of positive experiences. Again, when my Bobby character came out as bisexual, the fact that the generalized reaction was, yeah, me too. What of it? Cool. That's cool. The fact that was the case was that was nice, because it wasn't because it was like so like, oh yay. It's because it was so casual and so normalized. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That was the fun aspect to that it was just like, yeah, cool. Like it ain't no thing. Whatevs. And I think that was one of the more positive experiences. The most negative experiences I have are actually in my chat. And not often, but occasionally you will get somebody come in and say something very transphobic, very queerphobic, and this is how I deal with them. I don't say anything. I just bing, gone. I just don't engage them, like, whatsoever, because obviously they're there to get a reaction. They want you to get upset. Sometimes they don't even want you to get upset. They want you to come in and try and start educating them. They didn't come in to get educated. And when they come in saying something very nasty, I don't want to repeat what they said. I personally would, because I walk around with a massive fucking shield up, so it doesn't destroy me. But it's basically you just pick them up and you just throw them away. They're not worth it. I have considered just putting on literally just like follow only chat or sub only chat, but there's no point. There's no point in stopping other people from being there just because one bad egg comes along, basically. But that's where I would say the majority of the negative experiences are random people that have purposely clocked onto the fact that I've put the LGBT tag or the transgender tag onto my stream.
Sorry.
And this is the skeleton motorcyclist I can see here.
Yeah, that's it.
The fact that they've actively seeked that out to go on there, they're not there to get educated. They're there to just try and cause a bad time and negative emotions. Just fuck them off. Just throw them into the void. Whatever. I'm for spreading love and positivity and educating, but I just know they're not there for that. There's a time and a place.
A lesson from Bo Burnham's recent special. Don't fucking rely on me to educate you. It's fucking exhausting.
I'll be honest. I love it when people come to me and say, look, what can I do to either support? Mm-hmm. What can I do to normalize? Teach me about transness. Just what does it mean? What does it entail? Admittedly, I do get pissed off when people ask about genitals, because it's like, would you ask a normal person about the genitals? Yeah. No? Fuck off then. But at the same time, if it's somebody that's close to me, or in weird cases, my hair stylist, which is an interesting conversation, I'm okay with that because I know them and I know they're asking it with mostly good intentions. I'm okay with that. If I have that relationship with you, fine. But if somebody out of the blue comes to me and says, so what are you doing with your genitals? And I'm like, I don't know.
I don't know.
What are you doing with yours?
I don't know.
Right now, at this very moment, or
right now they're just kind of idle.
Yeah, because right now, because as you can tell, the camera only comes like to here. So no,
let them idle.
But
they're
no,
idling on a TF2 server.
But if they come to me and say, what does this mean? What does this mean? What is I want to understand. What does hormones mean? What happens during that process? And all of that. And asking me about my experiences as well, and actually truly trying to educate themselves. That to me is a positive experience, because that is someone that wants to understand.
I wish for knowledge. Give
Exactly.
me the forbidden knowledge.
I can't fault somebody in the pursuit of knowledge, because to pursue knowledge is to better oneself, and that warms my heart. Just not genitals. Just knowledge is fine. Just not about genitals. Just
It's good if they're asking if you are comfortable telling. However, it is not your obligation to.
Thank you. TLDR, Shmoo summed that up. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
that's
absolutely.
where it's at, I think.
Awesome. Well, that's kind of perfect. It kind of ties into the next thing I want to talk about, which is about Twitch and streaming and like these kind of platforms specifically, and feelings on that. Kind of leave it open-ended, positive, negative, all that kind of stuff. I know for me personally, one of the things I think is great about Twitch is it's just an opportunity to share these things with other people and connect with other people in a way that like I don't always necessarily directly do in roleplay, whether it's not relevant to the roleplay or where the situation is, right? Like I love being able to have people come into my stream and see like the trans tag now, which is a huge victory, by the way. Major fucking claps for that whole campaign, which I believe, I don't want to speak, Nicotine have really helped spearhead, right? Oh, here, I'll open the floor to you.
It was Transmission
your own
Gaming
trumpet,
at large that really took the leadership role with that. We
Fuck yeah.
one of our Transmission Gaming teammates actually started the user voice request way back when I was really angry about it on stream. And Transmission Gaming has had several pretty high profile stream. So we do a charity event every couple of months on Twitch, and we usually get some front page time for it, and we use that opportunity to talk about issues that are very important to us on the platform as trans people, and that has been a considerable focal point for our discussion for the last 3 years. I've personally met with Twitch staff probably countless times, 6-7 times. I've been to HQ several times in San Francisco and talked directly to Twitch staff about it, and discussions have lasted so long. I'm so tired. And finally, I as a Twitch ambassador, there are some things I'm like allowed to say and some things I'm like not allowed to say. And one of the things I'm not allowed to say is there were so many other like really cool options on the table, right? The issue at large wasn't just trans tag, it was trans discoverability, right?
Yeah.
And my problem is that I've been on the platform for long enough to remember communities, which were essentially user-generated tags, and you could have up to 3 of them, and anybody could just create a tag. So there was like a thriving trans community. There was communities. There was trans. There was specific niche interests. It was absolutely wonderful, and communities evolved and then got ripped away like that. And it's about, I mean, the community tags now has lasted longer than communities did, which means that to me, having been on the platform for long enough, I understand that at any time tags could just poof go away and be replaced by some other product. So in my mind, it seems reasonable to want to ensure trans discoverability to like supersede tags in some way. And so I know that there were other options on the table, and it's bittersweet. It's nice to have that discoverability, but the fight isn't over. We can't be complacent. If tags were just to disappear tomorrow, we'd have to go through this whole charade all over again. So don't be complacent. Fight for your place in society, and don't let anybody try to walk all over you, I guess is what I want to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
The basic message of this whole podcast is fight anyone who tries to tell you anything about yourself.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's one of those things that perhaps people who aren't in the community, 'cause even LGBT, right? At least LBG has gotten to the point where it's much more normalized, right? It's still not that there still isn't cultural homophobia that we're dealing with and progress we made and all that kind of stuff. But I think especially in the last 10 years or so, we've seen a pretty big cultural shift where gay men, lesbians, bisexual people are more accepted, right? Again, there's still not growth to be made, but I think trans people are in a interesting place right now where we're kind of in the middle of a bit of a culture war. I hate to say that, but it is true. Like we've got all these like legal bills that are trying to be passed, and like all like we're
They just
facing
passed
it.
a
The
bill
more
where same-sex
like
people
we are
can't adopt
known
children
as
in
a people, the more
Philadelphia.
kind of pushback we're getting. And so it's
Go
it's
vote, people.
culturally a time where it's really important for us to be able to build community and connect with each other, and the internet is a huge vehicle for that. And platforms like Twitch are really crucial for having that opportunity to find other people, to reach out to them, to connect with them, to share experiences, that kind of stuff. And so it's we need all of us, not even just like us as a community, but again, allies and people like that who care about us to help keep pushing these things forward. And like I said, discoverability and this ways of finding other trans streamers and stuff like that is super, super important.
Community is important. Keep that in mind, everyone. And I talked over Tank and I was being rude, but that's because I love Tank, and I just want his conversation to be uplifted by the more serious things that are that we are still having to fight to even exist. I am not out as trans to my coworkers. I literally hear them say like, "Oh yeah, that girl that was here the other day, she was a trans, or he was a trans." It's like people still like say that kind of shit. And Philadelphia, I believe, passed the law recently where I think it's everywhere. I can't remember correctly, where same-sex couples cannot adopt orphaned children because a bunch of religious zealots wanted to be like, hey, fuck children getting homes, because these people like to love each other. Just you gotta, the best way to do anything is to just be a good person and realize how you can fix these things. Research, try it, even if it is the least important thing to you. Have a bit of common decency to go out in the world and just call out bullshit, tell people when they're wrong. A little bit of conflict doesn't actually hurt anyone, except for the millions of people that it does hurt. But you're here for a good time, not for a long time, baby. So make it a good time where you were a good person, and just watch out for your fellow folk and your comrades, and just just love each other. As hippie as I can get about it. Love each other, take care of each other, try and help the people around you to stop all of this bullshit that is going on, which starts with saying, "Hey, fuck you, don't be mean to me in roleplay." That's what it comes back to. That's full circle for you.
Awesome. Well, we're about the 2-hour mark. Doing a quick Q&A from viewers. Anything that you guys want to ask us real quick while we got you here, and then we'll get to wrapping this up.
Would anyone like to see a picture of a skeleton on a motorcycle?
Yes.
I do want to kind of circle back until we get another question or two in chat to Kai's question about more things that you could do in server to help perpetuate just like a safe or comfortable environment. If you see somebody obviously having an issue with a character who is presenting either male or female and somebody else is questioning that, step into the scene and help navigate the scene and help that person who is getting misgendered or whatever the situation is. Feel free to engage in that and feel free to kind of help guide the best that you can. You can't obviously change somebody if they're on a path towards destruction for themselves, but you stepping in and trying to be an advocate to assist them it reinstates the fact that they are valid and what they're doing is valid, and it also helps the people who might be in the scene around you, or even the person who is engaging in being ignorant, to get the message, because sometimes it's very hard to be forward about something without being like, I don't know about anybody else, but me, like, I have a low tolerancy and for patience when it comes to ignorance. Like, if I start to see that, I'm gonna just kind of snap. So having somebody else come in who understands or could see what's going on and be willing and wanting to help, that also really does make a really big difference in role play and how the scene can end or come to fruition. Or, you know, if you know something is going on out of character, like message the person out of character, just be like, hey, this person is obviously a female character, a male character. What you're doing is not okay. Like, things like
nip
that
it
in the
bud.
moment really do help. Like nipping it in the butt in the immediate moment help, because 4 hours when you log off and try to come back to that conversation, it's not going to be taken as seriously, or it's not going to matter as much, because it's been probably by that person, whoever was causing the ignorance, to be lost or forgotten or not even cared about the same way. So trying to nip things in the butt at the time that they happen in any way that you can really does help.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we got a question from Casual Nerdiness. I've started to run an after-school D&D club for an LGBTQIA club. As a straight cis person, how do I ensure I'm creating a good, inclusive world for my players? Anybody?
Research from
Communicate.
Yes.
Communicate, I would say. Literally, just with most things in life, communication. Ask, even as somebody who's running something. Literally, just ask them as players. I know, and I've been introduced more to it recently. The idea of kind of no-goes when it comes to TTRPGs and stuff like that. Ask and communicate. Open lines of communication. Make people comfortable with what. You know, if they're not comfortable with something, make it comfortable enough that they can tell you that. And that they can, again, I'm going to keep using the word, it's like a buzzword, that they can communicate with you, basically. In regards to inclusive good world, I think it would depend on who you ask. But again, I'm a big advocate of normalizing as well. Acting as if things aren't abnormal, because they shouldn't be.
Yeah, just treat stuff casually.
And just for me, I love it when people treat stuff casually. When people go, "Oh, this person's this and this person's that," and just, in my opinion, don't create NPCs that exist to just be gay or just be, you know, trans. Like it's not their full identity. It's a weird way of saying, because it's their gender identity, but it's not their whole identity. And just kind of, you know, again, like normalize communication and. There's a third one in there somewhere. I had a point there somewhere, but I hope that made sense.
Something.
May I quickly say,
Go ahead.
on the topic of the, like, bring up the no-goes in D&D, maybe talk to each person personally about it. Some people may not want to admit they have no-goes in front of other people.
I was
So
just
it's an
going to
extra little
say,
thing.
I ran Dungeons and Dragons for 12-year-olds for a while. So for not quite middle school, but, you know, in that vein. And I did a questionnaire that I handed out to them so that they could each answer it individually and send it back to me individually. So nobody had to share anything that they were not comfortable sharing publicly. And that way I could get a gauge on the player's comfortability level, what they were looking for, what they were not looking for, and kind of the things that they wanted out of the world itself, in the game itself. And from there, take that and put that into your world. There's power. There's so much power in nuance and in creating NPCs and creating characters in the world that are part of that community, the LGBTQ community, and not having their queerness or their gender identity at the forefront when you meet them. But maybe a character, if an NPC spends time with the party and lets them kind of know things about them, bringing in that nuance, bringing in those character traits about them and their personality through those sorts of interactions, help normalize, especially if you're running this for children, for kids who are going through the process of figuring themselves out, making it as normal as possible and also as respectful as possible to each individual and the weirdness that everyone kind of goes through when they're figuring themselves out. It really helps, especially because D&D is such a useful tool, and roleplay in general is such a therapeutic tool for when you are going through that process. But I would recommend, you know, asking, like Shmoo said, asking them individually, or sending out a little just like questionnaire, a 10-question questionnaire of like, what type of character do you want to play? What type of world do you want to play in? What are you not okay with experiencing? What would you like to experience? You know, stuff like that really helps you gauge not only as a DM what your players want, but it helps you build things for your world.
So just to add on to that, if you're a new DM and you're looking for like a really easy way to come up with a list like that, you can just Google lists of consent forms online, just D&D consent forms, and you'll usually come up with like a long, really cool list of questions for your players. You can pare it down however you want to your taste. So just Google it. Google's your friend.
There's so many out there. There's so
Google
many.
is your friend, but Google is also your enemy because it's a corporation. If I can add anything onto the D&D thing, like
No.
Okay.
I'm kidding.
Next
Please
question.
do. Please, no.
Pull up the next one, Margaret.
No.
The thing about D&D is that it's really freeing and it's very open, and you know, the best thing that you can do for D&D as someone who is not did it say that they were also straight and cis?
Yeah. The person hosting this
So
is
sorry.
straight. So she's trying to-
I'm sorry, that didn't mean to be mean. The best thing about it is just you can let them live in your world, and if you allow them to live and not be accosted for who they are, unless, you know, they're like a tiefling and they want to be like, hey, I want people to look at me weird because that's, you know, I'm a devil person, you know, that's different. But, you know, don't bring up like sexuality, don't bring you know, don't just try and keep it neutral. Just keep it to fighting goblins and dragons, and you know, the best advice, just treat it like it's normal, because that's all anyone wants is just to be treated like they're normal. Is to just they want to go see a wizard. They want that wizard to cast a fireball at them, and they want to go fuck you and kill him, and they love that.
Or befriend
Anybody
with
can
old
love
hand.
that. And if they want to hold the wizard's hand, you let them hold the wizard's hand.
What if we kissed the wizard? JK, unless
Unless
Mhm.
I'd like to say as a
what if the wizard turned me gay?
yeah, come around to the gay part of it. If they want to just kiss the wizard, let them kiss the wizard.
I cast gay fireball.
I cast
I'd
gay
like to
fireball. It's a rainbow.
As a side note, if there are any DMs out there, which I've heard some weird horror stories, if there's any DMs out there that are playing running high fantasy games, but don't find that within the confines of that queerness and transness are okay, yo, there are dragons and fucking shapeshifters and magic.
I'm playing a
Shape-
bugbear, but
How-
I'm
Garfield.
a literal fucking goblin person.
Right, so if you have like all of that in a high fantasy perspective, I mean, how fucking androgynous do stereotypical Tolkien elves get, right? So,
Yeah.
like, if you can have all of that and accept all of that, then
Elves
come
are
on.
gay. You can't tell me otherwise. Tolkien was just a coward.
But I'm just like,
Oh,
for real, like, if you can accept that, I mean, come on, like, just,
Casual
Doesn't make
nerdiness.
sense.
I just want to
Come on.
say I love that
love
they're like
that.
disarming and having discussions with the people they're fighting.
And I
as
love,
offense.
yeah, that's great. Gay people love talking to people. It's funny. They love hearing themselves speak. I can attest to that.
Awesome.
Yeah. There was some more questions.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So we've got a question from Acela, which I'm gonna kind of paraphrase, which is if someone sees you doesn't necessarily know how to refer to you gender-wise, would you prefer that they use gender-neutral terms, or they assume based on presentation is how I would phrase that, right? Because sometimes you can tell, right, if someone is presenting very masculine or feminine or whatever the case is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would you prefer gender neutral or just kind of basing off presentation?
I can solve this in a quick few words if people don't mind. You can it's fine to use gender neutral terms for like if you don't know them and you're kind of watching and you're kind of like talking to a friend from afar, like, hey, who's that person? Oh, that's Sammy. They're cool. And then you go up to Sammy and you're like, hey, Sammy, what's up? And then if you get later on into the conversation and you still don't know, then you go, hey, just so that I know, what's your pronouns?
What
And
your
they're like,
pronouns,
"Oh,
baby?
what's your pronouns, baby?" And then
Baby
they'll
is optional.
happily tell you, and then you go, oh, cool. And then you don't worry about it. After that, you just go, okay, that's their pronouns. I'm gonna try and say them. And if you misgender them, don't fucking go, oh my god, I'm so sorry, I'm a
Yeah,
horrible
because
person.
then it makes it about them trying to comfort
Yeah.
you because you feel bad.
Because you feel, but it's
it
literally
messes it up.
fine. You go, oh, that's my friend Mike. He's a great person, and
Yeah,
know,
just quickly-
it's just make your mistake right.
Oh my!
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Everyone,
Oh my
I'm
God,
so sorry. I didn't mean to call you a she. Oh, I meant he.
You're so
everybody.
depressed, and you're gonna
It's
be
so
sad
uncomfortable.
about it.
That's a good.
It
That's a good
happens in real life all the time, and I hate it. And I hate it so much. If you do that in real life, please be discreet. The only thing that makes it worse is when it becomes like a huge public spectacle. So please just don't ever do that to someone. I know you
taking
might feel
personal-
awkward. Maybe you'll feel awkward if you
Just
misgender
quickly
somebody.
correct.
Just quickly correct it. Move on.
Yeah, take on
move
that
on.
personal responsibility. Just say, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I will remember that," and move on. Like it
There
is
is
literally
a-
that easy. And people will like. I don't know about other people, but me specifically, if I see that somebody's either struggling or does not know how to address me, I will just flat out tell them.
Yeah.
Like because some people aren't also comfortable asking the question because they are uncomfortable with whatever it is within themselves, which is totally understandable. But sometimes
What they
like
do not understand.
exactly. So sometimes I'll just be like, hey, this is how I present myself. Or, if they say something different, I say, hey, this is what I prefer to be addressed as. And then yes, just say, oh, I'm so sorry. That's not a problem. I'll remember for future, interactions. And then
Please
move on.
just be a normal human being, for
Yeah, just
fuck's
please be
sake.
normal. It makes it about you when you make it a spectacle, and it's not about you at all.
Like I said, don't make it about you, please.
It's not about you or them. It's just about you making a scene out of it because you wanted to be like, oh my god. And adding on to the question about how you support people in character, you can ask people in character what the pronouns are. It's the 1900s, but that doesn't mean that people don't have pronouns.
And if you're worried about bringing it up, just speak to them privately about it. Just in case you're worried about asking in front of other people, because some people aren't maybe comfortable saying in front of others.
Yeah. And that's the other thing too. Kind of my hot take on asking pronouns is I think it's a good practice, right? And relevant a lot of times. There's other times, especially this is more in real life versus online, where it can feel almost targeted. Like, are you asking that because you ask everybody that? Or are you asking that because you're picking up on something, right? So it can feel a little awkward. I think when possible, it's great to kind of read context clues, right? You don't have to you're introducing yourself to someone, right? You're saying your name, like you're not usually jumping right into pronouns. It's not always relevant to the conversation, right? You can kind of get some context clues. If you have a friend, sometimes even like, especially like if they use gender neutral pronouns, or they read like very androgynously or something like that, like even kind of volunteering those, like, hey, this is my friend I'm going to introduce you to, they use they them, right? Having that right off the bat and like doing that for someone else can also be a really big help. But then again, when it comes down to a situation where for whatever reason, right, you don't know, or you just want to be inclusive, right, asking is always better than just jumping into assuming one way or the other, right? And again, it's all depends on kind of the context there, but yeah, I think it's a good practice rather than just immediately assuming one way or the other. Awesome. So then Split had a question, which is, in hindsight, what would you have done to make the process of coming into oneself easier, exploring sexuality, both privately and publicly? I personally struggle with the concept of embracing it, and honestly, it terrifies me.
Oh, don't ask me.
I do have a little bit of something, I guess. Be kind to yourself and realize that whatever you're going through is okay, and that society doesn't get to dictate anything for anybody. Like you and your experience are so important, and you deserve to feel as fulfilled as you can in your experience. So let yourself experience and try to, which is hard in of itself, but try to let yourself experience as much as you want. If you want to go and do something, do it. If you want to role play as a guy, as a girl, anything, let yourself experience that, because you are doing yourself a disservice by not letting yourself live out of the fear of what somebody else is going to say. Fuck everybody else. Like they don't matter. No, they don't matter. How other people feel don't matter,
We
because
live in a
you
dystopian
have to
society.
be,
It doesn't matter.
nothing matters. Just be kind to yourself and let yourself be. Whatever that means to you, just let yourself be. And through that process, it makes it a little bit easier. It still will be hard. It will not be easy, but it will make it at least a little bit easier if you yourself become comfortable with what you're going through first.
Yeah, I can attest to this feeling of not being able to love yourself, because all of these people on the screen right now, they're all amazingly beautiful, and they take care of themselves physically and mentally probably way better than I do, but they still have their own things probably. I don't know. I don't know who
I'm
they
in
are.
Leon Stitch pajamas. Speak for yourself.
Shmoo is beautiful. I don't know if anyone knows that.
I'll fight you. Continue
I
your point,
do.
please, before I go.
But you know, I'll be upfront and say I'm not exactly the most healthy of people. You know, I'm not. I don't put on. You know, I consider myself a girl, but I also don't like how I look, because I still have hair that grows on my face. I still have dry skin that doesn't look nice. You know, I don't look pleasant to look at, in my opinion. And the thing about why I say that is because when you have this like gender dysphoria about how you look, or just it's so much better to you just have to learn to take care of yourself. And a part of that is like what Brick was saying, is like you gotta say fuck everyone who tries to, you know, tell you anything, because I may not look like a perfect woman, but I still want to come out here and get mad at people who, you know, call me a man every day. You know, I go out and a guy calls me, thanks man, thanks dude, you're great, man. You know, it fucks me up because I don't look as pretty as I want to. And so yeah, the thing is just you have to learn to mentally fortify yourself in a way that allows you to see yourself for the good that you have, and not for the good that you look physically all the time. And I don't know if I'm making any sense, but
Yeah.
it's yeah, you're not making any sense, you fucking fool.
No, you're making sense. Fucking. I swear to God.
I'm just saying this because I know what it feels like to not love how you look currently. You know, that's why I don't have a webcam.
Yeah, sure.
It's just take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. Take a bath every now and then. Use some deodorant, please.
I'll say that. I think that you only, this sounds super cliche, but you only ever get so much time on this earth to do the things that make you happy. Don't fucking waste it. Don't waste it being miserable. If you want to just, you can be whoever you want to be on the internet. This is the internet. This is the actual Wild West.
I
Today,
look like
this
a
is today's
fucking
Wild West. You get to
freak, but I
just
look
do
so
whatever you
cute
want. You
while
can be whoever you want. Use
I may
it.
be cringe, but I'm free.
I may be
This is the
cringe,
this
but
is
I'm
the
free.
this is the one time in this beautiful piece of history that we're living in right now where you can literally just go online and be whoever you want to be. Use it.
I wanna be the
Role
skeleton
play
on
as
a
whoever you want to
motorcycle.
be. Be whoever you want to be on the internet, and don't let other people try to dictate to you what you should be. Just do the things that make you happy because you only get so long to do them. And on that note,
You could die in 2 days. You could die tomorrow. It don't matter.
so
Live
much.
your life, please.
Thank you so
Bye.
much, Nick Teen. Really appreciate you coming out. Thank you.
Yeah.
One thing I want to add to
Yeah,
this
and
is
on that, I have
Wait,
two more
Hank,
notes
Hank.
I would say on that topic.
Hank,
Um,
Hank.
well, what's up?
Fen had a point she was making.
Yeah.
oh no, I was just one thing that I've tried to teach myself and to live by is no matter who's in your life, whether they're important or they're not important, or they're a stranger on the street, or they're a parent or a loved one, or your significant other or significant others. Big up Polly. But the one thing that I live by is the only person who sees through your eyes and has to live with your thoughts and exist every second of every day of every year in your own space is you. So do whatever you can within your power to exist within that space exactly how you want to exist within that space, and not for other people, because they don't get to live in that space. So live in that space exactly how you want to live in that space. It doesn't matter, even if it's a loved one. It's not even considering a sacrifice to lose them over that, because even if, remember, if they're gone, you are still there with you, existing with you. So exist with yourself in harmony, as mushy as that might sound. Like, be harmonious with yourself.
Yeah, and just real quick on that too.
Yes.
It's hard to in role play when you exist around other people that you try and disconnect from. It's hard to do that, you know. But it's really about taking care of you. If you fucking can't stand somebody because they because they're just who they are, you have to learn to exist within your own space and just avoid them, because it's so much more relieving to just not have that conflict with people. It feels so much better to just go through your day not having that. You know, don't live out the Twitter fights in real life or anything like that. Just fucking live your bubble, and it'll make you feel so much better. If you can. Go ahead.
Continue what you were saying.
No, I was done. Go ahead.
Ah, fuck.
Go
What
ahead.
is it? You will self-doubt. That is something I have dealt with a lot. I was very anxious about joining this due to the self-doubting. It's like, hey, am I this certain thing enough? Well, guess what? You fucking are. So it'll be okay. Once you get past that and you're comfortable with yourself, you're all good. Wanted to get that out there.
It's all about going to therapy.
Therapy helps.
Therapy helps. I'll say that.
Yeah, and on that whole topic, I have 2 points, which is also one, the people who love you are going to love you and care for you regardless. I personally, that was a big struggle for me, right? I was kind of the quintessential trans kid. Like, my earliest memories are all relating to that. I knew from a very, very young age, but I also was sort of precocious enough to realize that this is not a normal experience for a lot of kids my age. This is not a normal thing. And so I really buried it deep down. And even in my late teens, early 20s, really realizing like, this is something I need, just being so scared of my family's reactions and career ramifications and friends and stuff like that. And like, not to downplay those fears, right? Because everybody, like, if you live with your family, that is an important factor, right? You can lose your job, you can lose career over this kind of thing. Like, it's a genuine concern. But at the same point in time, at the end of the day, the people who care about you are going to care about you no matter what. And it doesn't matter, right? So you really kind of have that confidence, one, that people love you are going to love you, even if it doesn't feel like, even if it's scary. And then two, don't be afraid to be wrong. You know, I think we have this idea because so often trans people are portrayed as this like wishy-washy kind of like, you know, maybe you'll grow out of it, that sort of thing. But you don't have to be Correct. Right. You can realize you can experiment with something. You can try something out. You can see, does this identity work? Does this make me feel better? Does it make me feel more comfortable, or it doesn't? You know, I mean, if of course you're looking at something more permanent or serious like hormones or surgery or something like that, that's a big consideration. But as far as just trying on a different identity, trying on like, maybe I actually am bisexual, maybe I'm pansexual, maybe this and that, whatever. It's like, it's okay to come back from that. It's okay to call yourself bisexual for years and then be like, oh, I'm actually straight, or I'm actually gay or lesbian, right? Whatever the case is, it's okay to say, I think I'm trans. Actually, maybe I'm not trans. Maybe I'm non-binary. Maybe I'm like, it's okay to play around with those and experiment until you find what the right fit is. You don't have to get it 100% right off the bat, you know. And I think that's a misconception where people are like, if I come out as this thing, then I have to be 100% sure that's this thing. And it's okay. It's okay to try it out until you realize this is the space that I occupy and I feel comfortable with. And even sometimes those things change as we get older anyways, right? Just because this is even something 100%, this is what I'm comfortable with now and this is who I am. You may not be that person in 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and that's okay. That is totally okay.
As somebody who's changed their orientation labels so many times now, yes, that is so true. Like, you grow and evolve as a person, and it is important to know that it is okay to be fluid and figure yourself out and try out new labels in that process.
Yeah, and just because things have changed doesn't mean it invalidates how you were at that time.
Yeah, 100%. Right. Well, I don't think we have any other questions. Probably going to get to wrapping this up unless you guys have anything else you wanna add throughout there.
I said it in chat, but I just want to say thanks again to everybody who tuned in, whether you are trans, non-binary, straight, gay, whatever orientation you decide to be. It really means a lot. As you know, Shmoo said, you know, they were new to this, but I'm also new as coming out and being, you know, outspokenly queer and non-binary. So it feels good to be in a space where this is celebrated. So thank you, Tank, for having everybody here and having me here specifically. But also thank you to everybody who's tuned in and asked questions and been a part of the conversation and shared their experiences as well, because, you know, community is really important, especially when things are complicated. And, you know, it's so good to feel the love and the warmth. So thanks, y'all. It means a lot.
You're like one of my favorite people. Do you know that?
Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Well, I'm gonna.
That was for you, Greg.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for coming out. Seriously, it was wonderful having everybody here wanting to participate and be a part of this and share this stuff with the community. Like I said, WildRP is a very special community to me. This is a topic that is very important to me, and I'm glad we were able to share this with everybody. So thank you.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
For giving us the opportunity to be able to do this as well, to be honest, and share our experiences and our perspectives on it as well. It's an honor, really. So.
I think you're I think
your mic switched.
Yeah, the website might have changed it to your website.
Yeah, probably has.
There you go.
Probably has.
If you want to repeat what you said, go ahead.
Hold on, I'm going to minimize the screen. Has it gone back? Is it okay?
It's good. You sound good.
Cool, excellent. Yeah, just giving us an opportunity to be able to share our perspectives and our experiences, and so many people coming in as well to kind of take their time to absorb that as well. It means a lot. It's a big honor. So
yeah, awesome.
It really does mean something to somebody that you will. I'm a very philosophical person where you know, if I saw a chicken and I said it was a man, I would probably also get someone coming by saying no with an unplugged chicken and saying this is a man. What I'm trying to say is, like, your time is so valuable, and spending it learning and trying to better yourself is always a good thing. And on the side of, you know, if you're gay, trans, and all that, it's so much more fulfilling to live your life knowing who you are and feeling that out. And there's as
Seda?
Did we lose
Seda, no!
Seda?
Seda, you died. She'll be back soon.
But yeah, I'm gonna wrap this up then. I think we got it. Thank you guys again for coming here, hanging out. It really meant a
Hello,
lot.
welcome back, Seda.
Oh, we got her. Maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe, maybe not. I guess not. Okay.
Tank.
Did I mute myself? What happened?
I think so.
You did for a minute, yeah.
Yeah.
Did
Yeah.
Okay,
And
there
the
we go.
tech problems start now.
Yeah, exactly. This
She-
was going pretty
she's
smooth,
back.
so I'm gonna mess it up now. All right. Well, thank you guys again for coming out. I super appreciate all you guys hanging out in chat. Seriously, like this was a really great experience, and it was great having everybody out here. I think community is one of the most important parts of not just role play and not just WildRP, but the internet in general, right? It's a wonderful tool. It's a tool for a potential lot of harm and negativity, but it's a very positive thing as well, right? It's an opportunity to connect with people, to build these communities, to share our stories and share our experiences in a very unique way. So thank you guys again for all hanging out. We are going to raid, I think Fist is streaming right now, right? Yeah, let's go say hi to Fist of the Walrus, who is a longtime member of WildRP, wonderful streamer, human, great person. Thank you guys again for hanging out. Time to go learn what non-binary means. Yeah, absolutely. I've been linking this a couple times in chat, but if you guys have any questions about any of the terms we talked about today, that glad.org link has a lot of definitions. And again, don't be afraid to ask stuff. Like when I'm streaming or anybody else, like I'm always happy to educate and explain terms and that kind of stuff. So yeah, love you guys all so much. Thank you for hanging out and see y'all around.